All right, fourth graders, so we are looking here at page 261 on lesson 7.5. You should have watched the YouTube video first explaining this lesson before you watch this video. So here's simplifying fractions like the YouTube video talked about. So we're still finding equivalent fractions. They are equal to each other, but the numerator and denominator are smaller. And we do that by dividing. So let's look at number 1. Maria had 12 boxes of apricots. She sold 10 of the boxes. Write the fraction of the boxes sold and shade the 12ths fraction bar to show. So here I'm looking at my 12ths fraction bar. So I'm going to shade, she sold 10. All right, so I'm going to shade, oops, sorry, give me a second. I'm going to shade 10 of them, all except for 2. So I'm going to stop right here. So she sold 10. And the fraction we would write here is 10 twelfths, 10 over 12. Now number 2 says to group these twelfths to form an equivalent fraction with a lesser denominator. So when I'm thinking about twelfths, how can I make that denominator smaller? Well, I can divide. And if I divide twelfths by 2, then I get sixths. So I'm going to look in every 2 twelfths. I'm going to draw a line. So there's 1, 2 twelfths. Line 1, 2 twelfths. Line 1, 2 twelfths. Line 1, 2 twelfths. Okay, so now if I count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I have sixths. I have 6 parts. So now it says show the new fraction by shading what she sold. The fraction that she sold now that we have it into sixths. So it's still going to line it up. Oops. Oh, well, that works. So if I'm shading here, how many sixths did she sell? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sixths. So here you should have 10 twelfths, and the equivalent fraction to that, when I divide by 2, is 5 sixths. So that's all it's doing down here, is showing how you can find the equivalent fraction. I'm going to see if I can write it in. It's kind of tricky on this program, but 10 divided by 2, and whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. 12 divided by 2, so my new fraction is 5. Oh my gosh. Be patient, bear with me. Thank you, fourth graders. 5 sixths. My new fraction is 5 sixths. That's a 6. These problems 5 through 7 down here wants you to find equivalent fractions. And so you need to look at where it's starting and where it ends. So I'm starting with twelfths and I go to sixths and thirds. So think in your head, to get from 12 to 6, what do I do? Do I multiply or divide? I divide. What do I divide by? 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So if they divided by 2, then I do 8 divided by 2, which gives me 4. Four sixths. Now they went from 6 to thirds. How do I get from 6 to 3? I divide by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 thirds. Same here, twelfths to 6 to thirds, twelfths to 6 to thirds. And if you notice here, they have this here to give you a hint that you're going to have a bigger number on the top right here, so you'll be able to turn this into a mixed number, okay? All right, look at page 262 next. So this page says, look at the thirds bar and circle enough unit fractions on each of the other bars to equal 1/3. To equal 1/3. So I'm looking at these thirds bars. If I shade in a third, I'm going to circle enough of the other ones to equal that 1/3. So when I do it with sixths, how many do I circle? 2 sixths. Make it even with ninths, I have 3 ninths. Make it even with twelfths, 1, 2, 3, 4 twelfths. If I do it with 15ths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 15ths. And I need to go all the way up to 18ths. How many 18ths are equal to 1/3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it says, discuss how the parts of the fraction bars you circled show this chain of equivalent fractions. Explain how each different group of unit fractions is equal to 1/3. So you're going to explain the number of parts in each fraction bar. Number 10 is a little tricky the way it's worded. So let's look at it. It says, write the group size for each fraction in the chain of equivalent fractions. The first one is done for you. So the group size in this first one, it's saying 6/18. So then it wants you to write here, what's the group size going to be for 15ths? Well, it's 5. What's the group size for 12ths? There are 4 12ths. What's the group size for ninths? There are 3 ninths. And I think you can start to see a pattern. 6, 5, 4, 3. How many sixths are there and how many thirds are there? Okay. And down here, you're going to complete each equation by showing how you use group size. And they did the first one for you. So they're showing you how you divide. So again, you have to think, okay, if they went from 15 to 3, what did they divide by? Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. If they went from 12 to 3, what did they divide by? Top and bottom is same. Right? Look at page 263. So this page says, what happens to the fractions as you move from right to left? How does the size of the unit fraction change? How does the number of unit fractions change? So when I move from right to left on my multiplication table, my fraction itself is equivalent. I'll say that again. The fraction stays the same. So 5/15 is the same fraction as 1/3. They are showing the same amount. However, the size of the unit fraction changes, right? My numerator and my denominator got smaller, okay? Because like the first video said, the number of pieces in the group size changes, all right? And same, so if number 13, when I move from left to right, how does the fraction change? Well, the fraction stays the same. 1/3 is equivalent to 5/15. However, the unit fraction gets bigger. That's what it wants you to explain up here. All right, now look at page 264. So for this page, there's more than one right answer. It's leaving you blank, but it wants you to use the multiplication chart. So 4/8, what can I multiply by to get an equivalent fraction? I can multiply by anything on this multiplication chart. So I could do 4/8 times 4/4, right? To get 16 32. Same for dividing. It's giving me 20/40. I can divide by well, not anything, but something that goes into these evenly to get a different equivalent fraction. So you need to think what you can divide both of these numbers by, right? And these ones, it's giving you the denominators. So again, think in your head, how did they get from 2 to 4? Am I multiplying or dividing? And whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And on these, 24 through 31, again, you get to pick. All right, so there's more than one right answer. You get to pick what could go in here. But notice all of these are division. And then the last set, you have to think, how did they get there? Are they multiplying or dividing? Looks like all of them are dividing. Whatever they do to the bottom, you do the same to the top.